Hello, students, teachers, parents, history nerds. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nutshelled History, where we lay out the facts, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We continue with our Modern World History series by looking at revolution and nationalism in Latin America. Don't forget that there's a link for a fill-in-the-blank worksheet in the description. Feel free to use it. I just ask that you like and subscribe. I apologize for any mispronunciations ahead of time. I do my best. All right, let's go. In the early 1900s, Latin America's economy was buzzing like a coffee-fueled fiesta, thanks to exports. Sure, foreign investors were making it rain pesos by controlling the natural resources. But as long as governments kept things steady, everyone managed. Well, at least everyone in the VIP section. Military leaders and rich landowners were the bouncers in this club, letting the upper crust rule while the workers and peasants were left outside in the cold, wondering when they'd get a say. Naturally, this wasn't going to sit well forever. Enter Mexico's head honcho, Porfirio Diaz, who had a 35-year reign, more or less saying, "Look, the country's peaceful, so stop complaining about the whole only the rich benefit deal." The peasants, however, were less than thrilled, toiling away on the haciendas, aka the billion-acre backyards of the wealthy, while the rich reaped the rewards. Q.A. Francisco Madero, a rich guy with a conscience, who in 1910 started yelling, "Let's shake things up." Diaz eventually took the hint, stepped down, and the Mexican Revolution, an all-out brawl over power, kicked off. Pancho Villa and Emiliano Zapata were like the dynamic duo of the Mexican Revolution, each with their own brand of "let's shake things up" energy. Villa, the scrappy, mustachioed bandit-turned-revolutionary, rallied the northern peasants and ran raids like it was his personal mission to make life hard for the elites. Meanwhile, down south, Zapata was laser-focused on getting land back to the people, shouting his famous rallying cry, "Land and liberty." Basically, a heartfelt, "give us what's ours." Together, they gave the revolution its wild, unstoppable energy. Though they didn't always get along, both made it clear that they weren't about to let the status quo get cozy, and they shook up Mexico in a way no one would forget. After years of conflict, Venustiano Carranza was elected president, and they drafted a shiny new constitution in 1917. It had big plans like land reform, religious freedom, and labor rights, plus the power to nationalize natural resources. By 1929, the government formed the Institutional Revolutionary Party, PRI, which was like that friend who says they're here to help, but low-key keeps all the power to themselves. The 1920s and 1930s came with a side of the Great Depression, which hit Latin America's exports hard and made imports pricey. This sparked a wave of economic nationalism. If others weren't going to play nice, Latin Americans would do it themselves. Some countries even took back foreign-owned companies, and authoritarian leaders stepped in with promises to revive the economy. Alongside economic changes, there was a surge in cultural pride, with artists like Diego Rivera painting massive murals that celebrated Mexican life, history, and the struggles of its people. Meanwhile, the U.S. was popping into Latin American business more than a nosy neighbor, which didn't exactly earn them any fans. Eventually, under the good neighbor policy, the U.S. promised to be a little less involved, at least for the time being. Alrighty, now a recap. In the early 1900s, Latin America's economy flourished with exports, though foreign investors held the reins, and military elites and landowners kept the power. In Mexico, Porfirio Diaz's long rule saw peace and wealth, but only for the rich, while peasants labored on massive estates. When reformer Francisco Madero called for change in 1910, Diaz stepped down and the Mexican Revolution erupted. After years of fighting, a new constitution in 1917 promised reforms like land rights and labor protections. Meanwhile, the Great Depression fueled economic nationalism as Latin Americans aimed to boost local industry and reclaim foreign-owned businesses. Artists like Diego Rivera celebrated Mexican culture and history, while the U.S., often meddling in Latin America to protect its own interests, eventually tried to ease tensions with the good neighbor policy and promising less interference. There you have it, folks. That is revolution and nationalism in Latin America nutshelled. Thanks for stopping by Nutshelled History. Don't forget to go nutshellistic on those like and subscribe buttons for me. It would be revolutionary if you did. How revolutionary? Tell me in the comments down below. See y'all next time on Nutshelled History.